Hello, everybody. My name is Aaron Canole, and welcome back once again to another edition of the Movie Battleground. We are back here for the penultimate match within the opening round of our tournament. We are 6 matches through. This is match 7. And we are in the, as I said last match, kind of the section of the tournament where shit went wrong. So we have substitutes. But with that said, our substitutes are all players who have had some great games recently, so they are certainly worthy of being here. And that is the situation tonight, as we have the number 7 seed, Alec Miller, who is off of a good run in the last tournament, making it to the semifinals in our mini summer tournament, going up against Noah McCausland, who is fresh off of a win against Jacob West, and he steps into this matchup having taken over the place of Andy Sweet, who unfortunately had to drop out due to unforeseen circumstances with work causing availability to become an issue. But Noah's coming into this off the back of a win, and he's somebody who, in win and in defeat, has always put up a great match. But I think he's just looking for that opportunity to break through to the next round. And we saw last week Austin was the first competitor who got to step in and have that opportunity, and he took it, and he's through to the next round. So I'm sure Noah will be looking to try and replicate that, but let's see how it plays out. With that said, we'll go ahead and get into this. Introducing your first opponent, coming in with a record of 3 wins, 3 defeats, 1 knockout, and an internet connection that will make McDonald's look good. He is Noah McLovin McCausland. I joke about the internet thing. If it was that bad, he wouldn't be here. But Noah, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I wish I was at home right now. That's why I have the shitty internet connection right now. But I'm ready to get in this match. I'm ready to have fun.
Yeah, and let me correct myself, because I not only fucked it up off camera multiple times, but I fucked it up on camera too. He is a part of the National Guard here in Florida, helping with hurricane relief following the hurricane that came through. By the time this match uploads, we will be well removed from that, I hope. God, I hope this isn't still happening in a few weeks. But Noah, in his spare time between whatever they're having him do out there, has been able to join us as a judge or now as a competitor. So if that's why you've seen him in a different area or kind of shuffling around in one of those videos, constantly moving, that is why. But with that said, sir, everything going on in real life, and you're handed this opportunity to step in as a replacement. What makes you want to say yes?
I mean, that positive record does look really nice, but I love competing. I love debating. I think everyone in here does. It's something that really makes you think, not only just about movies, but how to frame arguments and all of that. So I think of it as a fun little exercise, and I really do enjoy having a lot of fun with it. And I enjoy the connections it makes. So, I'm not going to be sad if I don't win today, but I'm really hoping I do, and I really want to move forward to the next round, because I think we all know who that's going to be against. So,
well, if they don't, they'll figure it out at the end. So we will see you in just a moment, sir, as I bring in your opponent. Coming in with a record of 3 wins, 2 defeats with 2 knockouts, he is Sinister Alec Miller. Alec, welcome back to the Battleground, sir. A great little run in that summer tournament for you after a long period of time off. And, I mean, no one's going to fault you on a loss to Amaru. He's currently the number 1 contender in the league now at this point. So how do you feel with that now behind you coming into this?
I'm nervous, man. I've told you before, I get nervous before every single one of these. Before every single one of these leading up to it, I don't want to do it. I'm just like, I get this like weird anxiety, but then as soon as I'm in it, as soon as the match starts, I'm all good. And the dog's already starting.
Yes.
But yeah, man,
I'm talking about this.
Yes, I'm excited though, man. These are a much more interesting round of a set of questions, and caused me to actually go outside. There are certain movies, a couple movies that I had never seen, including one that I chose. So I'm very, very excited to see how this turns out. And I know that Noah's a great debater, so I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's go ahead and get this going before that dog does something it'll regret, as we bring Noah in and we move into the match. Movie Battleground is a game that is the best of 5 rounds. It is the first to 3 points wins. Each of these rounds is going to be worth 1 point of debate. If a competitor happens to pick up 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. You guys have both tasted what that feels like. It feels nice to be on the winning end. If it is a 2-2 tie at the end of all this, though, we do have a blind round question prepped and ready to go. They're hoping to avoid that. That's really why everyone plays this game, is just to avoid having to play that 5th question. And I'd say most of the time it works out. I mean, I've seen people leave happy losing because they didn't have to play that question. You're welcome for mental torture. That said, in the 4 rounds that we will play, we'll have a 60-second opening argument followed by 2 minutes to expand and explain their picks. A 4-minute open discussion will follow, and a 60-second closing argument will follow that to wrap up their arguments. Following that, I have 3 judges backstage: Chris Diaz, Jake Reese, and Zach Shelton. They'll join us on screen, at which point a decision will be made on who will take the point and move on to the next round. With all that said, guys, are you ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right.
Good luck, Al.
So we'll go ahead and get into question number 1. And we are going to be focusing on a studio that has had an absolute banner fucking year, man. They started out with the Batman hitting big in theaters, and then they put out that great trailer that promoted all the great stuff they had coming. I mean, we have then we had Aquaman. Nope. But we still got Shazam. Oh, shit, nope. But DC Super Pets came out. That was dope. Better than expected. And Black Adam, I guess by the time this uploads, just came out. And I don't know how that went. But, yeah, DC's been kind of in the shitter for the last few years. Whether it be the DCEU when it's continued, I'm going to go with flatulence at the box office and critical success. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's certainly not good. Or the fact that the movie that hit the best was the Joaquin Phoenix Joker film, and now that's getting a musical sequel. Or the up in the air discussion over if Matt Reeves will actually get to continue his trilogy, because we really don't know what's going to happen. And that's not even counting the cancellation of Batgirl, a movie nobody cared about until it didn't exist anymore. DC doesn't know what the fuck it's doing, if I've proved anything in the last 2 minutes. But you know when they did know what they were doing? The 2000s, when they actually could put out films that not only made money consistently, but were good. The question is, what is the best DC film released in the 2000s? Now, behind the scenes, Alec, you were the higher seed for this matchup, so you are going to be having the opportunity to pick when you go first, and you are going first on questions 1 and 3. Noah, you'll get to go first on 2, but for the moment, I'm going to turn this over to Alec. Best of luck to the both of you guys, and the timer will start when the first competitor speaks.
So I didn't pick just the best DC film of the 2000s. I believe that I picked probably the best DC film that they've ever put out. You have the brilliance of Christopher Nolan. You have the iconic cast of Christian Bale, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Aaron Eckhart, and of course the late great Heath Ledger. And so of course my movie is The Dark Knight. I think this film as like the peak of anything that DC has done. The acting in it is fantastic. The sound, the score, the script, everything is just from top to bottom amazing. I believe when you go into that movie the first time after you saw it, you didn't leave the same. That movie had that much of an impact on the world, and and gave us so much that we'll talk about later.
And time. All right, Noah, back over to you, sir, for your opening minute.
I'm going to remind the judges, you are not judging the best movie or the movie you think is personally better. Please make sure you are judging based on the arguments given. That being said, the best DC film is V for Vendetta for clear and obvious reasons. You have amazing performances, one that is given behind a mask and you still feel every emotion, a plot that eerily feels close to being real, themes that still relate to today's social climate and talk about different characters and lifestyles that don't make it their only personality trait. This movie also took a risk in an era where an R rating was almost a death sentence for comic book films, and it paid off extremely well. From the beginning sequence, you already know the base of this film and that it takes place in an alternate history and reality, but not force-feeding you information. This movie pulls from its source material in a way that doesn't offend fans and adapts it for the screen in a beautiful manner. Behind the scenes, this movie was already a success, even in production. The Wachowskis helped produce and write this film, even though they couldn't direct it, and so they got their first assistant director for the Matrix movies to direct it, and so everyone qualified. The stunts in this movies are amazing to watch. Want to know why? The stuntman for this film is the same guy who directed John Wick.
All right, and then Alec, back over to you, sir. Dark Knight versus V for Vendetta. You got 2 minutes on the clock, sir.
So we all know that Christopher Nolan had a hard time, or had a tough task ahead of him when he took on Batman. Obviously, with everything that happened in the 90s with Batman, it's just a big mess. Christopher Nolan comes in, young hotshot director, comes in, does Batman Begins, and the world is begging for more Batman. This man made Batman relevant again, and the fact that he can't Batman Begins is great enough as it is, but the fact that he's able to follow that up with something that made it, that not only dove deeper into the Batman mythos and got to show us different things that we've never seen from the Batman franchise, but he also brought out some amazing performances that not even the public knew was possible. And what I'm talking about is Heath Ledger. His performance is absolutely amazing in this film. And when he was first announced to carry the mantle of the Joker, which had only had one actor before that, and Heath Ledger was announced, it was hated by everybody. This guy from 10 Things I Hate About You. How could this guy play the Joker? He comes in and gives a absolutely masterful performance. Not to mention the underrated performance of Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face. And to keep that hidden, keep that character so well so well written, and that you have no idea. If you're not a Batman fan, you have no idea who Harvey Dent is. You don't see that twist coming. I think that's a great way to introduce that for the people that don't understand, that don't know Batman mythos, and then also a great way. From the beginning, you're thinking, man, maybe he's going to be the villain in the second one. And then how it turns out, everything that happens is just really well written. And whereas V for Vendetta it's cool, but it has so many issues that we'll get into.
All right. And then Noah, back over to you, 2 minutes.
The best thing about Dark Knight also happens to be its worst. Heath Ledger is so iconic and outstanding in his role. Not only does it make the audience overlook the problems of the film, but his performance overshadows literally everyone else's. This is such a middling and basic Batman. Bale hardly does anything with the character in this film. There is no growth or change we see in the character at all. There's only the theme of him being a detective when he is known for being a detective superhero. Maggie Gyllenhaal gives a horrible performance because we feel no sadness in her death, but also Rachel is so diminished so much in this film. In Batman Begins, we see her stand up to Bruce himself and fight against a horde of crazy people on the island when trying to protect Joffrey Baratheon. But she gives this laughable monologue in the bomb room, makes no attempt to escape, and is just another woman to be rescued by other men in the movie. This film is so bloated and full of unnecessary scenes. Batman going into Hong Kong is just a forced plot point to showcase a meh fight scene. The reason Lau is needed is because he has all the mob's money, just makes the mob some of the stupidest people ever when they're shown to be smarter in the previous film. This film has a clear end at the end of the ferry scene when Batman finally captures Joker. We're forced into a second ending with Two-Face. First of all, Dent feels like a stock photo of a white politician rather than a character himself. He has no interesting flaws or traits. He is just a good person. Second, his slip into madness doesn't work at all. We see Joker say all people need for insanity is a little push, but Dent doesn't show any sort of insanity or loose bolts or anything bad rather than Rachel just dying. The whole character shift doesn't work. Batman uses surveillance to a point where he is tapping everyone's phone, which is highly problematic, but is shoved off as a good thing. V for Vendetta showcases government-controlled surveillance, but explains why it is corrupt and why it is malicious. It also delivers a moral conundrum of is violence okay, and if used for good. V says violence can be used for good. We also see that Eva refuses this ideal, but still believes in rebellion against a corrupt government. V is still a justifiable reason to use violence because the government believes force and violence is the only way to be heard and keep order, so he uses it against them. Every scene, every story has a reason for being in the film. You get these huge emotional heavy moments like Evie getting her hair chopped off, which is then reversed to her scene in the rain when she's finally let go of free. Yeah, you guys got it.
All right. So we are going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. As always, competitors, we know that we're trying to get our points in, but be as respectful of each other as possible. There may be a little trip here or there with the Wi-Fi, but We will play this as much as we can. But you guys are experienced. You know how it works. So it'll start when the 4 minutes begin.
I also want to bring up a quick moment real quick with how pretentious Gordon's death scene is in the film. The whole scene of the funeral and Gordon's death doesn't make any sense at all. So the Joker is recruiting these mentally ill people. How do they come out of the hospital without anyone knowing? And why wasn't it brought up? And somehow they knew Joker was going to be successful in his plans up to trying to kill the mayor. So where Gordon takes a bullet, so he personally takes the bullet and was able to be in the right place at the right time. And then all of that to surprise the audience and the Joker that Gordon isn't dead, and they capture the Joker who wanted to be captured anyway. So Joker was just going to kill a Batman if Gordon wasn't there. So Joker knew Gordon was alive. It makes no sense at all, and it's very pretentious, and it just adds up to drama that doesn't amount to anything at all.
Whereas V for Vendetta, first of all, it has some cool scenes, and yes, the everyone loves a revolution story. Everyone loves a take down the government type of story. But in the end, like, it gets so convoluted what he's doing. V is doing it first he's doing it because he's trying to take down the government. He's doing it for this. He's doing it.
What makes it convoluted?
Let me finish. I'm getting through it. First, it starts off as him just trying to take down the government, and anyone can see in that government it needed to be taken down as with all the Nazi, the N-word stuff that is going on, all the imagery, and then you have this scene where Evie gets captured, and she ends up getting tortured, and you actually feel this all this sympathy. You're like, holy shit, she's going through all this. It's insane. Like I feel for her. And Natalie Portman puts in an amazing performance, only to find out that it was V the entire time. And at the end of it, she finds out that V was the one that was torturing her because he wanted to make sure she could go home. So he kidnapped her. Two, he tortured her for the good of it, to make sure she had no more fear, that's what everybody wants, right? Everyone wants to get tortured, and then to come out, confront him for a little bit, and just to find out that, and then all of a sudden she's in love with him. It becomes this love story between V and Evie.
So it is not. It's not a love story at all. And Evie is mad at him at the end, and he explains why he captured her and did that. It's because she asked him to get rid of all her fear.
She asked him to get rid of all my fear. Yeah, he tortures her.
He comes out. Yes, he does that because she asked for him to, and she comes out of this. She has that one. First of all, it's a great moment in the rain where. She's standing there and she realized she just doesn't have this fear anymore. She's not in love with him. This is not a love story at all. She realizes what he does is justifiable, but the violence that he does is not okay.
Yes, well, I'm glad that he knows the violence is not okay, but it doesn't take away from the fact that, as you hear my dogs, it doesn't take away from the fact that yeah, sure. He says what he says about the torture, how it's for her, so that she's not scared anymore. But that doesn't get any sympathy from me. That doesn't make me like the character of V. That doesn't make me care for what what he's gone through. That's fine. But when he's the main character that I'm supposed to be following,
he's not. It's Evie. Evie's the main protagonist of this entire movie.
And she's great. But once again, but V is the guy. It's V for Vendetta, and it doesn't make me care for V. You have this long revenge plan, which is pretty incredibly thought out. But you have it just at some point it just confuses you. It loses you, and then it has this hyper violence at the very end for absolutely no reason at all, except to show some awesome slow-mo scenes with some blood squirting out.
All right, so we got 1 minute left on the clock for each competitors. Alec, yours is going to be up first, so when you're ready, go ahead.
V for Vendetta feels like a film that the themes are just bigger than what they actually showed on screen. The themes are ones that we love, that we know and love, the revolution themes and all that stuff. But at the bottom of it, Evie is a good character, yes. But even though we're told that Evie is the main character. The one I'm focused on is V, and how much I don't like him, how much I don't care about. I don't care about his plan after I find out that he tortures Evie. It's just one. You mentioned a bunch of little things in The Dark Knight that you didn't like. That's one big thing that really is hard to get over because of the fact of how much it dehumanizes him, even though I'm supposed to follow him and want him to succeed during that part. And it completely loses me to the point where, like, at the end, I just don't care. I'm just ready for the movie to be over. With The Dark Knight, I got Heath Ledger, which a great performance should never take away from a great movie.
Time.
And
all right, and then Noah, you have the final minute.
Not only does V for Vendetta pull reverently from its source material, but other works of art like the 1812 Overture that adds grandeur to the scenes and inclusion of the Count of Monte Cristo, as we see the poetic parallel in V and Evie. Not only how are they similar to those characters, but how they differ and how it affects the world around them. This movie treats the LGBT community like actual people and not just a stereotype. Hugo Weaving, even while wearing a mask, gives an Oscar-worthy performance with poetic dialogue expertly delivered, and by use of lighting and shadow on the mask, we still get emotion from the mask itself. Everything down to little details of meaning and purpose. All of it comes together to form a perfect movie. However, Dark Knight has glaring problems people refuse to see because of the Joker. Alex said they're small problems, but they're not. They're huge problems. This movie requires audience to take it seriously with its dark and heavy tones. It proceeds to make unrealistic decisions and put in things that don't make sense. This movie has unnecessary scenes and goes on far too long with no storyline. It doesn't make sense or feel believable. You have one-note characters and ones who have been downgraded drastically in a film that deserves to be stopped and talked about the best of all time, and just for one great performance.
And time. All right, a hell of a first round, guys. That's a great way to start this out. So I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back and bring our judges in to make the deliberation. And with that said, Chris, I'm going to head up to you first, as concise as you can get it for me. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
First of all, this is a good argument. This is tough. I went with Noah at the end. I just felt he just pulled so many punches at Dark Knight, able to defend V for Vendetta, usually being on the bail bomb with Maggie Gyllenhaal. Alec didn't pull much like defense for Dark Knight. He just focused on V for Vendetta. That what started me to know in the end.
All right, and then Jake, down to you.
Yep, I also have Noah here. I will agree with Chris on this one. They both did a great job saying why their movies was great. Noah was better at tearing down Dark Knight.
Okay. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll go ahead and sit you in the back and bring the competitors back in as we move into question number 2 here. And coming up, I going to be honest with you, with all the schedule changes, I forget when this uploads exactly, but either coming soon or just recently, we had the first George Clooney movie in a few years go to theaters, Tickets to Paradise, in a rom-com with like Julia Roberts, I think, which is what we all wanted to see George Clooney do after being gone for so many years. But this is an actor who had an incredible heyday, and when he had it, he was putting out hit after hit after hit after hit. And normally, this is where I would throw out a decade question, but George Clooney had so many films come out in the 2000s that you can split it in half and still have about 10 options to choose from. So that's exactly what I did. So we're going to go with the latter half of the decade. The question is, what is the best George Clooney film released between 2005 and 2009? And legitimately within those 5 years, he had, I believe, 10 or 11 films released. And that's not counting the documentaries he voiced over if somebody had wanted to pick those. But they didn't. Instead, they went with 2 great films. So with that said, Noah, you're up first. And when your timer starts, or when you speak, the timer will start.
The best George Clooney film between 2005 and 2009 is without a doubt Michael Clayton. First of all, this movie is such an underseen and underappreciated movie. For those who haven't seen it, I will quickly summarize the film. George Clooney plays Michael Clayton, who's a problem fixer, brought in to clean up a mess after one of his law firm's top litigators suffers a breakdown, representing a corrupt chemical corporation in a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. Under pressure to appease the firm clients, Clayton finds himself torn between his desire to do the right thing and a pressing need to pay off the spiraling personal debts from a bar. The screenplay itself is a masterclass in writing and is perfectly mastered for the screen, with help from editing and amazing performances from George Clooney, Tom Wilkinson, Tilda Swinton, and Sidney Pollack. Right away, we get this powerful monologue from Tom Wilkinson's character, and every moment up until his death, spoiler alert, his character holds such weight over the film from just the delivery of this monologue alone. This movie demonstrates destructive moral choices that are made every day by people who believe that they know what they're doing is wrong, and how it affects Wilkinson's character Edens after years of doing this, and in the end gives you a fake out you want to believe 100%
And
believe.
time. All right. And then Alec, back over to you. 1 minute on the clock.
So I went with a movie that I hadn't actually seen until I got this question, and that is Fantastic Mr. Fox. I've always heard so many great things about it, never actually watched it. When I finally watched it and was blown away, the animation style, the dialogue. I'm not like the biggest Wes Anderson fan, but I really enjoyed this film a lot. It was also nice to get a George Clooney performance without having the iconic, this is George Clooney. Just getting the voice and seeing what he can do. He's playing George Clooney, but the character that he's called upon to play absolutely 100% works. And watching this animated movie, I was like, this was for kids, and absolutely it's not for kids. This is basically an adult animation movie. It completely caters to adults with the really deep themes that it goes into, and we'll get into it.
All right, Noah, back over to you. 2 minutes.
From the very beginning with Eden's Awakening, the movie tries to make you believe he is crazy just like everyone else in this movie. Clayton says he is only acting like this because he's off his medication, but what is genius is the movie gives you moments where you see through his eyes and question whether he is really insane. This movie is interested in exploring decisions and picking a side between right and wrong. There's a line where Clayton says to Eden, "I am not your enemy," which Eden responds then, "Who are you?" It is at this point where the next decision Clayton makes will define who he is. The film is masterful in its character study and shows what happens when you push people to the brink. It's a complex balance between plot and character development, both of which are very detailed and build them up so you understand their motivations. It chooses not to focus on the story of a corporation harming people and the lawyers that defend them, but focuses on Clooney's character, who could definitely gain a lot from allowing the corporations to get away with their crimes. So it makes it all the more sweet when he does the right thing and pushes Swinton's character around. When he says, "I am Shiva, the god of death," just like Wilkinson says, this motivation is to continue Wilkinson's legacy on getting justice for the victims who can't fight back. Fantastic Mr. Fox is Wes Anderson's first foray in animation, and it really shows, honestly. It has a great cast, but the movie in general just feels like it has no heart. The non sequitur feel of the movie only works to dampen any it might have. The film holds up signs saying this is when you're supposed to feel emotion rather than just letting you feel it yourself. The story is kind of a mess. It just feels thrown together while the script is just banal. There's a typical plot line of a son not thinking he lives up to the father's expectations, but by the end he realizes he does. You have a really unlikable character, Mr. Fox, who steals and continues to steal when his wife has him promised not to. Yet we are supposed to root against the farmers that Mr. Fox is stealing from just because the script labels them as mean when Fox started the whole thing. It is a film without integrity, which means you cannot have any emotional credibility either. This is supposed to be a child's movie, adapted from a child's book, by the way, Alec. Yet it makes the decision to have an inappropriate jokes that luckily go over the head of the intended audience. It underuses its cast and solely tries to rely on its beautiful stop motion animation. All in all, not so fantastic.
And time. All right, Alec, you got 2 minutes on the clock, sir.
My earphones messed up. Give me 1 second.
Sure. You all good?
Yes, there it is.
All right, go ahead, and when you're ready.
There are a million directors who wish their first foray into anime animation was what Fantastic Mr. Fox was. The animation, which is I've grown such a bigger appreciation for, is absolutely stunning in this movie. The texture of the characters, every single character looks real. You can see the fur on each on each character. They all have their own little excuse me. Their own little things that just like it makes them stand out. And the dialogue is fantastically written. Yes, it's a children's book, but you can it's also for children that are also adults at the time when this movie has come out. So it makes complete sense why you would cater to the people who grew up loving this book instead of the kids who might not know it. It might not appeal to them. Whereas this appeals to the adults who went and took their kids to see it, or maybe didn't take their kids to see it, because you can enjoy it with a kid or without a kid. You have the I don't know. It's just when you say things like, when you say something like, oh, it's the overplayed story thing where the dad is trying, the son is trying to get their attention from the dad. That's not overplayed. That's real. That's real life. That's what happens, that's what actually happens to people. So that's where the heart comes from. That's where you get the, oh, I relate to that, because maybe either you're fantastic Mr. Fox, and if you are, then you need to reevaluate what's going on with yourself, or you relate to Ash and just understand what it's like to be vying for the attention of a parent, or anyone in general, trying to get that attention, and how hard it is. With Michael Clayton, it's a thriller that gets your heart pumping, and it and it has a great performance by George Clooney, but it just doesn't have nearly the love and the heart and the feeling that you get from Fantastic Mr. Fox. And
time. All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. Timer starts when the first person speaks.
So the thing about Michael Clayton is, it feels, when I'm watching it, it's one of those ones where it doesn't capture me. It didn't capture me. It felt like something I'd seen before, and it just didn't interest me. I couldn't get out of the fact that, hey, that's George Clooney. He's putting in a good performance, but it's George Clooney. The beautiful thing about Fantastic Mr. Fox is the vocal performances, and not knowing. I think that to me that is a positive, is that you're not watching just a George Clooney film. You're watching something that he hasn't really done before, which is a children's film, a children's film, a childish film with a lot of adult themes. You have the thing like the running joke where instead of saying where a curse word might be, they say cuss. Like you also have the anytime someone says wolf, the dialogue and the script, I think really stand out and make this film completely its own. There's nothing really like it out there, and it's something that has really, even though Wes Anderson is known for making films that not really are out there, that really are like smaller films. This one is probably his first one that actually like really captured me and got me into him and made me enjoy the film.
Well, this feels exactly like a Wes Anderson animation film, and that's not going to be very attractive to some people. And you're saying using what the cuss, that actually gets very repetitive and very annoying really quickly. And Mr. Fox is not likable, and neither is Ash, because they're both kind of like rude and stuck. Well, Ash is rude and stuck up, but Mr. Fox is lies, and he breaks his promise to his wife. Michael Clayton,
we've all been there.
You said positive things about Michael Clayton. It's very interesting. It sets up tension very well. It's very interesting in discussion. And it's not just a movie about George Clooney. And Clooney plays a great performance as Michael Clayton. It's very much a great performance for Tom Wilkinson as Arthur Edens. Arthur Edens is supposedly this crazy person, but you get sneak peeks into his brilliant mind. You get genius moments where he's putting against the legal case, and then you have Tilda Swinton, who puts in a stellar performance when she doesn't have much screen time, and she shows that she's just as anxious and as everyone else, and yet she goes and has to be brutal against like George Clooney. And not only to mention, but this movie is gorgeous. You have great shots like the horse scene with Michael walking up to these horses, which is exactly reminiscent of Arthur Edens going into the town square, looking at all of things. It's a mental awakening for both of these characters, and it shows exactly the direction that Michael Clayton is going to go in to support Arthur Edens. It's a great movie, great thriller.
And you're talking about performances. You have great performances from the voice actors in Fantastic Mr. Fox. You have Bill Murray as Badger, Jason Schwartzman as Ash, who I know you're saying like, oh, they're not like they have these flaws. Yeah, people have flaws. That everyone has these flaws, and that's what this movie's about. Is that not everyone is crystal clean and perfect in this film. Everyone's got their own thing.
Yeah, but you're saying that these characters are good and they're interesting to watch, but they're not because Ash is an asshole, really. Like
what kid isn't, right? What kid isn't an asshole?
Fuck with Christopherson, and so you're really not rooting for him. You're really not rooting for Mr. Fox.
But you're rooting for the I'm sorry. I can't get over the fact that that you just named what people are. They're flawed. They have certain things about them that you get over, especially at the end when Christopherson and Ash both finally become put everything down and become and become friends and become family. That's what growth is. That's what you do in a film. You grow the characters and
time. All right. So we have 1 minute left on the clock. Noah, yours is up first when you're ready.
Fantastic Mr. Fox isn't the worst kids movie, but it would certainly be a movie you would put on for them to put them to sleep. It's a stellar voice cast that is so underused it's a crime. It's a boring plot that makes you watch the runtime, and the characters don't change from where they were in the beginning. Mr. Fox goes back to stealing. Michael Clayton was nominated for Best Picture, and it's reasonable that it didn't win for the likes of No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood were also in that category. But this movie is so beautifully shot and has loads of tension and paranoia, since you don't know the lengths the corporation will go to stay in power. Michael Clayton has expertly crafted legal thriller that develops the characters so you understand the decisions they make in the future and how they act. The ending feels unbelievable because we truly think Clayton could go either way. There's a stellar script and dialogue writing that could actually hold weight in the film, like Ian's monologue in the beginning and Clayton's discussion with Tilda Swinton character at the end. It's an amazing ending scene. The payoff feels so satisfying and worth it that it makes the runtime seem like nothing at all. Michael Clayton is the best George Clooney film between 2005 and 2009.
And time. All right, Alec, over to you. You have the final minute of the round.
There's a reason this film is not widely known, why it is an unknown favorite for people, and that's because it's every other Oscar baity thriller film that you're used to with George. This one just happens to have George Clooney with Fantastic Mr. Fox. It stands the test of time. It has great performances from George Clooney, Meryl Streep as Mrs. Fox, like I said, Jason Schwartzman, and even Willem Dafoe as Rat, who's completely unrecognizable in the role. And at the end of Rat's arc, he has you have a little sweet moment between him and Fox there. There's just so much heart and cleverness, and it's just, this movie is not to be made to fall asleep. It is made to sit down, watch, listen to the dialogue, laugh when you're supposed to, get a little worried when you're supposed to, and just enjoy Wes Anderson in a much more, I think, maybe in a much more digestible medium than I'm used to.
And time. All right, guys, another excellent debate from the both of you. I'm going to go ahead and sit you in the back to await the judgment as I bring the judges in. Jake, you are up first, sir, so I will turn it to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I got Alec on this one. He was able to counter a lot of Noah's points. Like, Noah's like, oh, the kid's an asshole. Like, what kid's not an asshole? And so on and so forth. Alec.
All right, then. All right, no problem. So first vote goes to Alec. Zach, down to you. Same thing.
I also went with Alec, and more because I felt like he was better able to explain his movie while also countering how Michael Clayton is kind of an Oscar bait movie, but also why his movie is very relatable for people. So that's why I went with Alec.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you in the back as we will go ahead and move on to question number 3. And it's great that you guys spent a portion of that question talking about the performances of Clooney and the other characters within the film, because it'll get you in the mindset ready to go for this next question. On the heels of, are we calling Rings of Power a success yet? I still don't know. The only thing that I know is that there are a lot of Tolkien fans who don't like black people, which is not something I knew before this year. But with that said, the Middle-earth franchise is back in the public. It can't be worse than The Hobbit, right? Like, can we at least agree on that? Anyways, the question is, what is the best performance by an actor in the Middle Earth franchise. And because these films normally, because just to set the precedent before we get to it, questions like this, I tell people to focus on one film. But because these films are so intertwined and interconnected anyways, even down to the production, they have their take of the pick of anything. They can go to any of the films. They can focus on one if they like, but don't hold that against them. We are talking about some of the best films of all time. I'm not even a huge fan of them in terms of watching them, and I can still admit that they are some of the best films made of all time. So let's see what two guys who actually enjoy these films can say about them, because I would not be the person to ask. With that said, though, it is going to go back to Alec on the first speaking point. So when you are ready, sir, time will begin.
So the character I chose, his kind of arc, I think where you really start to see him shine is at the very end of Fellowship of the Ring and all the way until the very end. And that is Sean Astin as Samwise Gamgee. This character had me laughing, had me crying, had me feeling upbeat, like ready to go, like pumped. Like if you don't hear that I'll get deeper into it later. I just want what Sean Astin does in this film. He really does. He really does. I think carry the load for a lot of the acting wise in terms of the two hobbits, where it be Elijah Wood and Sean Astin. Elijah Wood, he's great for what he's supposed to do, but I think Samwise. I think what Sean Astin does is he really helps you feel for he really helps you connect with Frodo in the beginning of the film, and then really like literally carry him by the end of the franchise. So we'll get deeper later into the why I think he is the best performance.
All right, Noah, back over to you. Your opening minute.
I feel like my answer requires no elaboration. I'm going to give it, though, because I'm not going to sit here and just waste your time and mine. But who has the singular best performance in the Miller franchise? Who's depicted several arcs throughout both trilogies, by the way? Who depicted two personalities while being the same character? Who was able to make a career and name for himself because of his work for the franchise? And whose name is synonymous with mocap? Who revolutionized that form of acting and put it on the map for the general audience? My answer, and really the only answer that there is for this question, is Andy Serkis as Gollum. There is no contest, there is no competition, and there is no doubt. I'm going to give you my time.
All right, so we have Sean Astin as Sam versus Andy Serkis as Gollum. I, for one, am saddened that nobody picked a dwarf from the Hobbit films, because I would have loved to see you try and define one of them outside of like maybe two of them as an individual character. That would have been a sight for sore eyes. Maybe I'll just fuck somebody else over with that question eventually. But for now, we have two excellent performances. Who's got the better one, at least, based on the argument? Alec, back to you, sir. You got 2 minutes. And you're muted.
That happens once a match. Andy Serkis did great things for film. I think he did absolutely amazing things with mocap. His movie in this franchise. I know you wanted to say this franchise and another franchise. He had one scene in the first Hobbit film, and his real moment to shine is in the Two Towers. In the rest of this franchise, it is 100%. At least in the Lord of the Rings franchise, it is 100% Sean Astin. I really do feel like he is the heart of this franchise. He's the one that everyone, that at least I and everyone that I know related to the most, and actually clung on to the most because of how of the different monologues that he had in these films. Whether it be the tales that really mattered, the worth fighting for speech, and the one in the beginning, at the very end of the Fellowship of the Ring, where you have him chasing Frodo to help him because he doesn't want Frodo, because he can't let Frodo be by himself. He has to complete his task of what he told Gandalf, which was he'll never leave Frodo. And I mean, let's be honest, the real love story is between Sam and Frodo in these films, and it's 100% carried by Sean Astin. Yes, Andy Serkis did. We picked two great performances. Andy Serkis did great things for film, but that's what's overshadowing. That's what's got everyone to think that is the best performance. Yes, he has a great, an amazing scene, but other than that, you have these scenes where I would actually argue that Sam actually helps you get sympathy for Smeagol, because Sam has that performance where Sean Astin has that performance where he has to be an ass to Smeagol, and it 100% makes you think, I don't like this guy. The performance of Sean Astin is what makes you have that
and time. All right, and then back over to you, Noah. 2 minutes.
Sean Astin is not a bad actor in any way. He's beloved as Sam and is heralded as arguably one of Middle Earth's best heroes. He was a loyal companion to Frodo. He was determined, caring, protective, and thoughtful, yet that is all he is. He does a fine job as Sam, but he gives the character what he needs and nothing more. Sam isn't elevated to another level. Sam is a great hero, but Sean Astin's portrayal of him rightfully falls behind the likes of Viggo Mortensen, Sir Ian McKellen, or even Billy Boyd. Therefore, he is miles and miles and miles behind the performance of Andy Serkis' Gollum. Right off the bat, he is a menace and terrifying, but we see this journey he goes on where he is wary of Frodo helping him at first, and then he becomes so trusting and loyal, loving of Frodo. He is this kind creature who seeks to serve him. Then we see Frodo's portrayal and how it ruins all the growth Gollum went through. Andy Serkis makes every single moment believable. He's actually doing every single movement that we see Gollum do. All of the crawling, scampering, crawling, groveling. It is all done by Serkis, and only adds evidence to why his performance as Gollum is so believable. The voice is another thing that makes Gollum so identifiable. Again, it's thanks to Serkis for this contribution. And yet he finds another way to elevate this even more than the already great vocal performance. On top of it being able to portray Gollum's two different personalities physically, he does a vocal intonations that differentiate the two personalities as well. We see this again in the Hobbit film during his run in with Bilbo. There is so much emotion and work done in just a 10-minute time frame. Aaron, go ahead and fact check me on that, but he displays humor, intrigue, confusion, anger, and before Bilbo jumps on him, helplessness and sadness. This is all due to Serkis' performance. Astin gives what needs to be done, but nothing more. There's really nothing you can say about his performance, good or bad, but Serkis does. And without him in the film, it would lose a key performer that would bring the film down a notch. Sam has monologues, yes, that are good, but that's just good writing. Him chasing Frodo, that's just the script. That's not Sean Astin making any of those decisions.
And time. All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. Time starts when the first person speaks.
You're saying that Sam helps you connect with Frodo. No, it's Frodo, and it's what Elijah Wood does with that character that helps you connect with Frodo, because he's this gentle soul that has this huge burden upon him. It's not Sam. Sam is that rock, yes, his foundation, but that's all it is.
But you don't get those feelings without the performance of Sean Astin, the emotion that he puts into all his scenes with Frodo, where you actually feel like they are friends, like he has this deep connection with Elijah Wood. That doesn't happen without the performance by Sean Astin. Yes, he gets obviously the stuff that has to do with the character is written, of course, but without the performance of Sean Astin, you don't believe any of it. You don't walk out of that film. You don't cry from just words on a page if you don't have the performance from Sean Astin. And every single time he's supposed to hit that note, he hits it. He lands it 100%, no splash. He hits it.
I'm not argue that he doesn't. Sean Astin's a good actor, and he does what is needed, but he doesn't elevate Sam the way that Andy Serkis does. Andy Serkis just does unimaginable things for Gollum, and he puts mocap as like a household kind of phrase, and he makes a whole career out of it, and he really puts it on the map as a way of filmmaking.
But if you're gonna, that's why when you say like, It's all the writing. Yes, it's all writing. It's same thing with Andy Serkis. It's fantastic writing, and he's able to do what he needs to do to get that forward. But at the end of the day, I am 100% walking away remembering everything that Sean Astin did, all the story beats, everything that he hit in those movies. That's what I end up leaving on. Even on the very ending, in the very end of finally, when you get to the very final ending of Return of the King, it shows Sean Astin, and you get to see him come home and see his family. And then when you actually know the story of how long it actually took and why he's so happy to see his family when he gets back. Without Sean Astin, you don't even need to know that. You just know, like, man, like everything, like he's been through so much. He has this thing that he's holding on to, and at the same time, he's got Frodo that he's mourning. Like it just 100% hits. Well, that was really loud. I'm sorry. It hits everything that it needs, that I need from an actor in those films. Andy Serkis, the performance is fantastic, but once again, I think I get overshadowed by the fact that it is the mocap, how great the character looks. He looks amazing, but that's all based off of the technology.
It's not just how he looks; it's how he moves, how he sounds. Again, like Sean Astin is doing what he needs to do, and it's a good job, but he doesn't elevate Sam. But Serkis does that. You get all these movements, like you look at this character. Oh, that might be a CGI character. No, that's Andy Serkis doing every single movement. He's on the ground. You get that very iconic voice that we're all doing. We get that. We get that the vocal intonations. Like he's playing two different characters in Two Towers. He's playing this loyal servant to Frodo, and then the Ring, basically. He plays those two as two distinct, very different personalities, and he does it very accurately and very well.
And Sean Astin does something
much else with the character.
Sean Astin does something where he has to take a cookie cutter character, a Boy Scout character, and absolutely make you fall in love with him. And he knocks it out of the park.
All right. Apologies about that. That text was me because I never stopped producing shit while doing this. With that said, we're going to get into the closing arguments. Alec, you are back up first. You got a minute on the clock, sir, when ready.
Sean Astin brings exactly what he needs to bring for the character of Samwise Gamgee, and he does elevate it because it elevates it beyond the page, beyond what you've read and what you've read in the books, however many times you've read them. He brings it to life to the point where he made it one of the most iconic characters, one of the most beloved characters in all of Lord of the Rings. Because of Sean Astin's performance, it's not just the writing. Yes, the writing is good. The writing's good all around. We understand that. But what Samwise does is he makes a character that most people would probably be like, I don't need any more of this. And instead of you thinking that, he has you walking away, remembering everything that he said, remembering those speeches that he gave, and remembering the emotion that he made you feel when he gave those speeches. When he tells that. I cry every time when he gives that line about the tale, when he gives the tales that mattered. He absolutely blows me away, and that's why he's the best performer.
And time. All right, and then Noah, back over to you. Final minute when ready.
You can't have Iron Man without Robert Downey Jr. You can't have Wolverine without Hugh Jackman. You can't have Deadpool without Ryan Reynolds. And you certainly cannot have Gollum without Andy Serkis. Serkis was born for this role and gives everything he has into this role. Every movement, every vocal intonation is thanks to Serkis, as well as his vocal performance, and is just the pure facial expressions. He transforms into the character in a way that no one ever could. Astin is fine as Sam and does what is needed for the film, but doesn't do anything extraordinary or worth mention. Every great line he has is due to the writing and the script rather than it being because of Astin. The performance by Serkis, while already amazing, just gives hints to what he does later as Caesar in the Apes movies. He's easily best thing about the Hobbit films and gives the best performance in the Middle Earth franchise as Gollum. Alex says that Sam makes you feel sympathy for Smeagol. No, that's the tragedy of Smeagol's backstory that you get in The Two Towers, I believe, and just all the brutal shit that he's gone through. It's Andy Serkis that brings that to life.
And time. All right. Another excellent round, guys. I always like to give credit where it's due. In this tournament, we've had a couple of debates about performance, which might be the hardest thing individually to try and debate. But they've gone excellently, and you guys had another one here. So I'll sit you guys in the back to await the victor. So the couple small fact checks here was that last point that was thrown out. Gollum / Smeagol's backstories at the start of Return of the King, not the Two Towers. And then the other thing was there's no breakdown that I could find as to how long Gollum was in the film. So the best that I have is HBO Max's official YouTube channel uploaded the Game of Riddles scene from the film, and it comes in at a 6-minute 40-second video. However, how much of that video or how much of the scene may have been excluded from the video, or if it is the whole thing, I don't know, because I saw those films once. I don't need to see it any more than that. That said, Zach, I'm going to go up to you. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Me, I'm going with Noah on this, and more because he gave more aspects of why Serkis's performance was better, while also saying how Samwise didn't really elevate throughout the entire franchise and was just doing what was on the page. So that's why I went with him.
All right, sir. Then Chris, down to you. Same thing. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
Yeah, just a difficult one. Don't keep it straight. Noah Valley. It went back and forth, but I think Noah brought up the asthma and Andy Samberg. I mean, it's trying a little bit here, but Noah.
I would love to see what Andy Samberg does with Gollum, though. That'd be great. No, we know what you meant, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and put you guys in the back and bring the competitors in for question number 3.
I want to see Andy Samberg as Gollum. That'd be very fun.
I think his face is animated enough he could do it without the CGI. He would just really get into it. It would be like if they had instead of doing a dragon, they just used Benedict Cumberbatch in the booth and just edited that into the film in place of a dragon. Just as terrifying and a better villain than Khan, if he had done that. We're going to go ahead and move on to, and I like that film, but I'll take a shot at it. Move on to the fourth and final main question of this game here. And I mean, we've had a lot of positivity in this match, which means we need to switch it up. And somebody who has certainly not switched up the positivity is Mr. Tom Cruise, who is living on top of the world right now. Top Gun Maverick, he got into public fights with Paramount. They wanted the 45-day window Paramount Plus thing. He told them to fuck themselves. They did. They put it in theaters, and I believe it's made over $1 billion at this point, or if not, then it's just right under that mark. It's done impressively well for a sequel to a movie from God knows how many years ago that was just a one-off to begin with. It's not even a franchise. So absolutely incredible things, and he's got more to come. Obviously, he's got 2 Mission Impossible films in the future, as well as whatever crazy film he can build out of a stunt that he wants to do. But he's made some bad films, so let's talk about those instead. What is the worst film of Tom Cruise's career is the question that we're going to be talking about. And I was going to say, you guys pick some shit, goddamn. Every time I write questions, I think these are the answers that I would gravitate towards, because it's inevitable not to when you write a question, right? And a lot of the times I am surprised by what people pick. And obviously film is all opinion. But no, you guys definitely picked 2 of his worst films. So it's just who can argue for their pile of shit better. That said, Noah, you'll get to speak first on the shit. So I'll go ahead and give you the timer, and it will start ticking when you begin speaking.
We live in a day and age where bad movies continue to receive sequels and reboots and franchises. However, only truly horrendous and awful movies kill franchises before they start. Movies like Aragon and The Last Airbender have the hopes of having sequels only be killed on arrival. 2017's The Mummy is another movie to add on the list of franchise killers. There's so much hype and excitement about the possibility of this dark universe, only for audiences to profusely reject any of their films because this movie is the biggest piece of shit you have ever seen in your life, and that isn't even its worst crime. It takes the beloved 1999 version and just takes a shit on that too. It has crappy dialogue, poor character development, and it's a very boring story with no stakes or tension at all. Not only is it the worst Tom Cruise movie, but it's one of the worst movies in general. That's going to be my time.
All right. We got a very personal feeling here towards The Mummy. We'll go ahead and move over now to Alec. You got 1 minute on the clock, sir, for your introduction.
I picked a film that I don't know if anyone ever really remembered. I barely remembered it when I picked it, and that's Night and Day with Cameron Diaz. This film made no sense. It's supposed to be like a parody of spy films, but with a love interest. It makes absolutely zero sense. The action is way too overboard for what they're trying to do in the film. There's really nothing good about it. Cameron Diaz and Tom Cruise have absolutely zero chemistry. He looks like he's there collecting a paycheck. We've seen what Tom Cruise can do when he actually cares about something, and he clearly did not care about this. Like I said, the script is just makes absolutely zero sense. This movie is, I don't understand why this movie exists. I had to make sure it did exist. I had to make sure it wasn't an actual like fever dream because of how bad this movie was, and make sure I didn't actually just
and time. All right, over to you, Noah.
Night and Day tells you exactly what you're in for in the beginning. This is going to be a fun movie with ridiculous circumstances and events. It's not supposed to be believable at all. The movie sets up its rules and follows them, and as long as the audience realizes this and accepts it, it becomes a fun, enjoyable watch. This isn't the best movie made or even good, really, but it is fun and enjoyable. You can't go wrong with Cameron Diaz and Tom Cruise being in the same scene with each other. Their chemistry oozes off the screen, despite what Alex says, because their chemistry from Vanilla Sky just pours into this. But it's fun. Sorry, they do give repeat cliche callback cheesy dialogue, but it still make you grin and chuckle even while groaning a little bit. The action scenes aren't Mission Impossible, but again, it's still enjoyable. And he's actually, wow, I'm reading this very horribly. It's still enjoyable, and Cameron Diaz by the end of the movie proves her worth and starts kicking ass herself. The plot is predictable, but the twist with Cruise and his character wondering if he's actually the rogue and the good guy set up a little tension and is used as a good storytelling device. It's directed by James Mangold, and while it's no Logan, it's still plenty fun and enjoyable. And what's not to love about the socially awkward and dirty Paul Dano? There's nothing good or enjoyable about The Mummy. Tom Cruise isn't the only one who feels disinterested, and that they are only doing this film for a check. Annabelle Wallace is just there, and Crow has some of the worst dialogue in the film and somehow makes it even worse. The movie is so unnecessary because it tries to capitalize on an old property that was done well the first time in the first iterations of the Universal Monsters, and even in the 1999 version. Brendan Fraser movie is great and loved by everybody, but you actually have to make a good movie. You can't slap Mummy on a turd and call it a franchise starter. It's a mundane films like Night and Day, Tom Cruise can elevate it and make it charming. But Tom Cruise not only fails to uplift this movie in any way, but hardly even tries. The comedy isn't funny, the horror isn't horrifying, the romance isn't romantic, and the action isn't even remotely exciting. It isn't even a bad movie that is just so bad it's good. It's just plainly a terrible film that kills the Dark Universe franchise even before it had a chance.
And time. All right, Alec, back over to you, sir. 2 minutes.
So I would argue that Universal actually killed the Dark Universe before it even began, because of how much they poured into this and expected it to get all these sequels that it got. But in actuality, like there's some decent things about The Mummy. You have Nick Johnson. I think as long as Nick Johnson is playing Nick Johnson, he's not doing anything wrong. And then if you say differently, then I will come for you. Him and Tom Cruise have actually have some really good chemistry, and Tom Cruise actually has some really good chemistry with the female lead. It was Annabelle Wallace as Jenny. Never really seen her before, but I think that she did well in the movie. She made for a very like an antagonist that a protagonist that I would be interested in following. And then by the end of the film, so did Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise did everything. I think that the only thing I think that the characters have absolutely zero to do with how bad this film actually ended up being. It was mostly the writing and the directing. But I think the actors, Tom Cruise, Sofia Boutella as Amanat, as the Mummy, she's hands down way better than The Rock in The Mummy 2, in The Mummy Returns, or even Jet Li in The Mummy, whatever that one was. She's a way more memorable mummy than both of those two combined. And Russell Crowe did everything he could to make sure that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde came out exactly how it was supposed to. He was intimidating. He was sinister, but then at the same time, when he was Dr. Jekyll, was a normal, it was a normal person. You can see the duality that he was playing in those two characters. Night and Day. No, they don't have any chemistry. Cameron Diaz. It's so dry. It's the typical. Cameron Diaz is the typical. Oh, she fixes muscle cars, so she's awesome. I mean, she's obviously a man's woman. So it's so overpowered and ridiculous.
All right, so we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start back up when the first person speaks.
No one remembers the story of Night and Day. The fact that these two get together and he's a spy and he just takes off with her and she's just she's playing against it and then she falls in love with him. Beautiful. That's a great story. It's the tales all this time.
Okay,
it's
better
it's
to have,
horrible.
It's better to have a mediocre story than a story and a movie with characters that are so fucking hated and a big piece of shit that everyone remembers that movie for being so fucking bad.
That movie. The characters are not that bad in the Mummy, though. That's not the problem. The problem in the film is the writing and how all over the place it is.
The characters are bad because the writing is bad. You just said to yourself the writing is bad. The writing and directing is bad.
I'm talking. Okay, I meant the actors. The actors have absolutely zero to do. The actors have absolutely zero to do with how bad this film. They did exactly what they were told to do.
Tell me one actor that elevates the writing in there. Amber Wallace, Tom Cruise. They deliver this meaningless.
They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They did exactly what they were directed to do. They were directed to do exactly what they did, and that's what they did. Tom Cruise came in and Russell Crowe absolutely is trying to save this film, and that's the most memorable scene from this movie, and even the scene where the mummy is having the sand go through the city. That's pretty cool. No, it's not great. It's not awesome. But you can't name one scene from Night and Day. You can't name one memorable scene from Night and Day
you can have the chase through the city where Cameron Diaz flips in the middle of Tom Cruise's lap and starts shooting. She becomes a badass at the end of this movie.
That's not cool. That's one. It's kind of misogynistic. Let's have the hot chick roll on top of Tom Cruise and shoot some stuff.
It's not misogynistic because she becomes a badass and she actually saves his life in the end.
And the Mummy, Russell Crowe, that scene is amazing. That like I said, once again, we're arguing two shit. We're arguing two shit movies. We're not
there's no tension in that scene at all because you don't.
That's
care
ridiculous.
About Jekyll, you don't care about Tom Cruise's character at all.
You're being introduced to Dr. Jekyll. You're being introduced to him, and they don't just throw him out of nowhere. He has actual actual reason to be in the film, and then you get to and the whole time there is tension because you're this is Dr. Jekyll. You're waiting for the blow up, and when he finally does, the visuals are really good. They're good for the millions of dollars that they threw at it.
The only meaning that Russell Crowe has to be in that film is to try to introduce this dark universe because
that's what you do. You introduce people.
Introduce Dr. Jekyll, but he has no relevance into this plot at all. Only to provide a brief pause that does nothing for the movie.
He absolutely does it. It's like you said. It's to introduce the characters, and it's a cool introduction. The whole time, there is 100% tension in this scene. Just by knowing the fact that his name is Dr. Jekyll, you're wondering when is he going to pop off? When is it going to happen? What's going to cause it? And when it happens, it does not disappoint. It is 100%. It absolutely has tension and it builds tension, and that's also through the performance of Russell Crowe, who, like I said, worked his ass off to make sure
there
he
is
got
no
his
potential
film.
because he could easily kill Tom Cruise's character, and he never even tries to go for the kill. You can still get enjoyment out of Night and Day, even though it's not a great movie. The chemistry is actual palpable between the two leads. You get that from the carryover from Vanilla Sky.
It's a typical rom-com with just a little bit of extra action thrown into it.
All right, so we have 1 minute left on the round, guys. After a great open discussion there, Noah, you have the first final minute. Excuse me. Time starts when you begin speaking.
The Mummy is just so offensive because of a lack of passion, originality, and decent writing. It takes everything good about the original and the 1999 version and just shreds it into a fire. There is no connection between the leads. There is no tension. There's horrible dialogue and delivery, and honestly, just really bad CGI. Tom Cruise's charm is completely absent, and he fails to elevate the movie whatsoever. Night and Day is perfectly fun, an enjoyable movie with loads of charm and charisma, coming from Cruise and Diaz, however predictable and cliche. We see a female character develop into a capable person who ends up kicking ass. The film sets up its rules and expectations right from the get-go and follows them throughout the entire movie. It knows what it is and embraces the ridiculous and the king. The Mummy tries to be this scary and serious film, but the only serious thing about it is how seriously Tom Cruise's worst movie his entire career. You're saying The Rock was bad in Mummy 3. We're not even bringing up Mummy 3 right now. We're bringing out how fucking bad these actors were in this movie and how no actors give a shit about this movie.
And time. All right, and then Alec, back over to you, sir. Final minute of the round.
The Mummy was not trying to be scary. It wasn't trying to be the horror film that it was. It was trying to be an over-the-top action MCU type of franchise. And obviously it fell short, but there are definitely things that you can enjoy. You have Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You have the comedy from Nick Johnson. You have the chemistry between the actors. In Night and Day, you have a rom-com movie. A rom-com written by James Mangold, and he tries his hardest, but it is a horrible script. You have an actual scene where, for all his genius, all his awesomeness, Tom Cruise's plan is to have Cameron Diaz captured, and just so he could save her. It makes absolutely zero sense. The movie's all over the place. It's not memorable. There's nothing to remember. At least in The Mummy, you get Sofia Boutella as the Mummy, and I was not bringing up The Rock because I was trying to talk about The Mummy 2. I'm saying that she was a memorable mummy than both of the other two mummies combined, and
time. All right, guys, another excellent round. This has been a great match so far, but I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back to await the decisions here as I bring the judges in. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and go to Chris first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
That was David, but Alec got my pricing. He managed to at least defend the Mummy a lot, bring up, bring up stuff that were good about it. I didn't hear a lot of defense about Night and Day from Noah, so Alec went to answer me.
Okay. Jake, down to you, sir. Who gets the vote, and what was the main selling point?
I got Noah here. It's kind of between saying that the Mummy was like just this franchise killer, and he also illustrated that Night and Day could be enjoyable.
Okay, and then that means Zach will go over you for the third vote. Who gets it, and what was the decider?
I went with Noah, and it's more because he talked about how this movie kind of took everything from the originals and the 1999 version and kind of threw them in a fire, but also saying how even a mediocre movie like Night and Day could still be elevated with Tom Cruise. So that's why I went with Noah.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back. And as I do that, I do want to take a second. I normally don't promote things on the show, but I encourage you guys to go look up a writer, Eric Heiser, best known for his contributions to the screenplay for Arrival, as well as the Netflix series Shadow and Bone, was one of the writers who was a part of the writer's room for the Dark Universe. He did a great interview a couple of years ago with the publication The Playlist when he was promoting Shadow and Bone, and he discussed in depth his experiences in the writing room for this dark universe. If you're curious to learn what it's like to be a part of a writer's room that fails horrendously, go check this interview out. It's actually really intriguing. He describes the experience as trying to write a script at Thanksgiving dinner with your family, and that nobody could really figure out what they wanted, and everybody was on a different page. The other metaphor he used was, it was like they were trying to build a plane after they were already flying in it. Genuinely, it's a very entertaining listen. Go check that out. But with that said, your winner by a final score of 3-1, Noah McCausland, coming out with a big W there. Noah, congratulations, sir, on the victory in the map. Not only are you winning in real life right now by being a genuine good person, you are winning in the battleground. How are you feeling, man?
God damn, that was a great debate with Alec. He's definitely someone to be not taken lightly. I came in this match knowing that this is going to be one of the matches, because I feel like we were pretty even, because I watched a lot of his previous stuff, and I came in feeling that he had that like slight little edge above me, but I'm happy with my performance. He really brought it too. Like, he really made me feel the heat. So, winning always feels good. So I feel good right now.
Absolutely, man. And next up, as you alluded to at the start, next up is a match that almost was previously and is now meant to be. You will be taking on the number 2 seed of the tournament, Joe Fairley, in the next matchup. Now, for those who remember, in the original announcement of our mini summer tournament, Noah was supposed to be taking on Joe in the first round. However, when the decision was made to input Amaru into the tournament, it shuffled the bracket ever so slightly that Noah had to play that match first. Obviously, Amaru did go on to take the victory, as he did take that whole tournament. But now you get your chance after a couple more matches, a little bit of waiting. You have that chance to go up against Joe. What are your thoughts in general on taking on the former 2-time champ of this league? And do you feel like having that extra time in between has kind of prepared you more for what's coming?
I fully expect to lose, just straight up.
That's a great start, but
I have a little bit of confidence in myself to maybe put up some pressure, but it's Joe Fairley. You know, he's made such a name for himself, and for good reason. So it's going to be exciting, that's for sure. Probably not an entertaining one, because I might get the floor mopped with myself, but it's going to be a fun match for me anyway, and probably for Joe.
What I'm going to do is prescribe you 3 sessions on confidence building with Zach Shelton when it comes to taking on Joe Fairley, and we will see how that pays out for you in the next round, sir. But congratulations on tonight. We will see you next time. Stay safe out there, man, as I go ahead and bring in Mr. Alec Miller, who is joined by somebody, unfortunately not for celebrations, but it was a great match. You put up some excellent arguments there. That last one got pretty intense. So how are you feeling? And overall, this year in the Battleground so far has been a huge improvement for you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, you think he's comforting me in my loss, but he's actually telling me everything that I did wrong, and we're gonna rewatch all these films, and he's gonna tell me what I did wrong, because he's the coach. No, I mean, it was a great match, man. Noah has a future in this league. Like, he is absolutely killing it. I love watching him debate, so I did not want to do this. But
that was on camera. If you want to call assault at any point, that was recorded.
But yeah, hold on, Eli. But yeah, I had a blast. That match again, I know he's saying that he's going to lose, but that match against Joe Fairley and him is going to be fireworks. So make sure you tune into that.
I mean, look, Noah can be down on himself, but he did maybe, I mean, you have to go back and watch beat by beat for each of those matches, but he may have pushed Amaru the hardest out of any of those matches in that tournament. So it'll be intriguing to see. Now, with most of these matches, the way that the rules have kind of been set at this point as we start to wrap up is once a competitor loses, that will be the end of their year. However, in the previous match, as people saw, not that you've seen it because we just recorded it like last night, I like to, when things happen within the league and somebody is affected by it through no means of their own, I like to throw a bone out there. And that is what happened with this match. Obviously, you started off with one competitor. Things kind of got stalled for a bit. Then things ended. Then we got it back up. So what I'm going to do is, if you would like to have the chance to play one more match before the year's over as sort of an olive branch for everything that happened behind the scenes, I'm going to offer you that opportunity. Now, you can absolutely just hold off till next year. I got no worries about that. But the offer's on the table should you want it.
You know what? I think I've played a lot this year. I think I'm gonna sit back, prepare for the off season, and just watch movies. But no, I think I'm good. I appreciate it though.
Absolutely, man. Well, you end this year at 3-3 with 2 knockouts. That is obviously an improvement over last year's when you ended with the record of 1-1 because we never had the chance to have you back. And you went from having a very long break to playing a great amount of matches in quick succession. So I congratulate you on overall a good year. I congratulate your son on somehow finding a way to still bother you at the end of the match. He's doing a great job over there.
He's awesome.
Really helping Noah's cause right now.
He's the best at it.
We'll see you next time on the Battleground, sir. Enjoy that off season. We'll have you back next year. But guys, that is it for another great tournament match. Noah McCausland coming in, just as we said with Austin last week, these players that, they're on the cusp. They've shown signs of greatness, and they had this opportunity handed to them, and they are not wasting it. Austin's into the second round, and so is Noah, and he's not going to have an easy task ahead of him, but I think he can certainly be the person that puts up the fight to see, can somebody take down Joe Fairley? It's been done before. Can he join the club? But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching at home. Please be sure to rate the video, subscribe, drop a comment, interact with the channel. I want to say once again, congratulations to Noah, and thank you to Alec for the participation, man. It's always great having you, buddy. I want to say thank you to my judges, Chris, Jake, and Zach backstage. Thank you guys for being here and sitting in on this match. And on behalf of everyone here at TMG Entertainment and the Movie Battleground, my name is Aaron Knoll, and we will see you next time. Tune in next week, next Saturday, for the final match in round 1 of the tournament, which will be between John Marr and, as I said, things happen. We have a third replacement. If you were on the Facebook page, you saw that announcement go up. Chris Diaz will be taking over for Mr. Caleb Hansen, so he will have his chance to try and join this club of guys who have worked their way into the second round after not being here at the start. Can he do it? We'll see next time.